This is KGW News at 11.
Hey, good evening. We're going to start with breaking news, an update for you. A police chase and search that had Kalama residents sheltering in their homes is now over.
Deputies do have a suspect in custody. KGW's Lindsay Nadrich is live just off I-5 with what happened. Lindsay?
Well, this whole thing started after a drive-by shooting just west of Longview. That happened at 7:30 this evening and ended with a search for a suspect here in Kalama after he abandoned his car and took off on foot. They're working to tow his car out of the area as we speak, but here's what it looked like just a few minutes ago. We saw deputies searching this SUV that was surrounded by patrol cars on Hendrickson Drive near Kalama River Road. More than a dozen officers were called in to search, including 2 K-9 teams and a drone. Again, this all started in Longview, where police say the man shot at an apartment building there. No one was hurt in the shooting, but the suspect took off and was later spotted by Kelso police. They chased him on southbound I-5 and then found his car abandoned in Kalama. People in the area were asked to stay inside while they search for him, but again, he's now in custody, so this is all over. Initially, we were told there could possibly be 2 people involved, but police say they no longer think that's the case. Again, they're working to tow that car out of the area here right now. Deputies tell me they know who the man is, but at this time, they're not releasing his name. Back to you.
Lindsay Nadrich, live with the latest. Thank you.
I felt like starting to punch something, and I was like, why can't they just keep him behind bars? Why do they keep letting him out?
Past victims of the man dubbed the TriMet Barber want him put away for a long time. This call for justice coming after Jared Walter allegedly assaulted another woman on a MAX train.
And this is Walter's 18th arrest in the last decade, all on similar crimes. KGW's Mike Benner live tonight at the jail where Walter's being held. Mike, you talked to some of these victims and they want to know why he keeps getting out.
And Dan, we do too. It is a real head scratcher. For their part, TriMet is considering a lifetime ban for Jared Walter, who tonight sits behind bars at the Multnomah County Jail, a place he is quite familiar with. We actually caught up with one of his past victims who says he needs to stay here behind bars. And we want to warn you, some of what else you're about to hear is graphic.
I was on the TriMet bus heading home.
Crystal Williams will never forget that 2013 ride on the bus. The now 27-year-old says sitting directly behind her was this guy, Jared Walter.
I kept feeling my hair being pulled, and I just thought it was people getting on and off the bus.
If only it was that innocent. Williams says she reached back and grabbed her hair. She says it was wet.
It was later confirmed that it was not only his spit, but his semen. He had ejaculated into my hair.
If you think that's bad, listen to this. Walter has a history of terrorizing women on public transit, dating back to 2009. He's cut their hair and put glue in it. And now Walter's accused of inappropriately touching a woman on a MAX train. Authorities say on Monday he touched a woman's thigh by putting his hand in her pocket. His 18th arrest and another date in court.
It makes my skin crawl, and it upsets me that they said they were going to throw the book at him, and they didn't, and he got back out again, and he's still doing it to this day.
TriMet shares in Williams' frustration. In fact, late last year, the agency created a long-term exclusion ordinance, all because of Walter. But for TriMet to ban Walter long-term, he'd have to offend again, and he has. Allegedly, of course.
We need to do a little bit more information gathering. We need to talk with police and learn a little bit more about what happened. And then we're going to be very deliberate as we look at what next steps to take.
Crystal Williams appreciates this, but says it's prosecutors who need to act. She says they need to put Walter in prison for a long time. If not, she fears his crimes will get even worse.
Eventually, he either takes someone or kills them.
Some strong words there from Crystal Williams. We are told that prosecutors will be back in court tomorrow to ask a judge to raise Walter's current bail from $9,000 to $100,000. You can trust KGW to stay on top of the story, including what TriMet decides to do with this guy. Back to you.
Well, you can certainly understand why Krista is so upset. Thank you, Mike. There are new developments tonight on a dramatic shooting spree in Seattle. 2 people are dead and 2 others are hurt, including a Metro bus driver. That driver helped save his passengers even as he was injured. Natalie Swaby is in Seattle with how it all unfolded.
Well, the road is back open and the driver's Metro bus has been towed away. As you mentioned, despite being injured, that driver managed to get his passengers to safety. And tonight, King County's executive is praising him by name, saying Eric Stark demonstrated extraordinary heroism. At this point tonight, we are hearing from a witness who tells us what it was like to be caught in the chaos. Police call it random and senseless, a violent rampage, and James Harvey witnessed part of it as he drove home.
Some cars were turning around. I thought, oh, there must be a bad accident. Then I saw a man lying on the side of the street. And I thought, oh, there was an accident. We should get out and help that poor fellow. And actually, some people were starting to get out of their cars.
But what was actually happening quickly came into view.
He then stood up and started shooting at the bus that was parked on the road on Sandpoint Way.
He says the man fired at least 7 shots.
And I could see the cartridge shells coming out of the weapon. And you have a sort of a funny reaction to it. You think it's firecrackers at first, or it's a starter's pistol. And then I thought, oh my God, that's a real gun. I'm getting out of here.
What Harvey saw was just a fraction of a frightening afternoon that police say started on Sandpoint Way.
They attempted to carjack a vehicle, shot the woman driving the vehicle. That vehicle veered off the road.
Police say after that, the suspect shot the bus operator, then carjacked another vehicle, shooting and killing the driver. Police say he then took off in the stolen vehicle and hit another car, killing another driver, before police were able to negotiate with him and take him into custody.
Our hearts go out to the family of the folks that were here, the folks that are affected by this, that are at the hospital.
A shooting spree police call, random and senseless, has left so many asking why. As for the victims, police say 2 men were killed and 2 others were hurt, the bus driver and the woman that was shot. The suspect, who police say lives in the area, was also taken to the hospital. In Seattle, Natalie Swaby, KGW News.
The teenager seen in this viral video pushing her friend off a bridge in Clark County is serving her sentence in jail tonight. Taylor Smith teared up in court after the judge read that sentence to her, saying she would spend 2 days behind bars, followed by more than a month on a work crew.
I'd like to sincerely apologize to Jordan Holgerson, her family and friends for the pain and humiliation I have caused by my mindless action that occurred last summer. Although it may seem like my intent was to harm, or even though I moved on without putting any punishment on myself, this is false.
Smith pleaded guilty to reckless endangerment after shoving Jordan Holgerson off a bridge at Moulton Falls in August of last year. Holgerson got hurt after falling more than 50 feet. She suffered broken ribs, a punctured lung, and some other injuries. She didn't have much to say after the sentencing today.
I think it's probably just as emotional for her as me.
Smith was cuffed immediately, as you can see, taken straight to jail. Holgerson's family said that they were happy with the punishment. So neighbors dealing with Portland's homeless crisis were just sick and tired of seeing scenes like this one. Fires have broken out at this camp on 14th and Montgomery in southwest Portland at least twice. Tents, piles of trash, human waste have been a common sight at this intersection for years. But then neighbors had an idea.
They cleared out trash and planted rose bushes there instead. But as KGW's Lindsay Nadrich reports, they almost had to rip all those bushes out.
Not only is it an eyesore, but there's kind of a safety component that goes with it too. Walking, past the encampment at night, it's a little shady.
Neighbors tell me they don't want to demonize the homeless, but they do want to feel safe. And after repeated issues, they decided it was time to reclaim their street. About 5 weeks ago, a group of neighbors raised $700 to clean up garbage, human waste, and needles left behind by one of the camps, and planted about 80 rose bushes in its place.
I think it's great. I think it's a step in the right direction and moving forward and kind of getting trash and everything else just kind of cleaned up and more presentable.
ODOT recently learned the roses were planted on their property without a permit, and initially told neighbors they had to be removed by April 1st.
We so appreciate that they want to do this because, we can't be everywhere all the time. And people wanting to take ownership for their own area is terrific. But we do have a process for doing these kinds of things, and we appreciate people working with us on doing it right.
ODOT is now working with neighbors to get a permit and says the roses can stay, but the handmade sign and the ribbons tied around each one need to go.
We are asking that those be removed because they could be safety hazards, a distraction to drivers, and actually contribute to trash in the area if they don't stay tied to the roses.
Neighbors disagree, telling me the sign and ribbons are just as important and say it's no more of a distraction than the piles of trash that were once there. That issue has yet to be resolved. But in the meantime, folks tell me the new plants seem to be making a difference. There's only one tent that's come back. The rest are now farther down the road.
Very, very big difference. Definitely not a lot of tents or little encampments there. So it seems to be working.
The group that planted the roses tells us they do plan to keep working with ODOT on this, but also said, quote, "We are handling our community our way now."